You've waited long enough.
The final season of Supernatural continues on Thursday, October 8th on the CW.
You too.
Is that because you're quarantined now, right?
So I'm officially back up in Vancouver to finish the last 2 episodes of Supernatural, which is crazy. 15 years and we had 2 left, and virus hit, so they pulled the plug and said we'll let you know. And so they've just let us back up. I think we're the first Warner Brothers show back on its feet from the big pause. So, but in order to do so we had to fly to Vancouver, which is where we film. And the Canadian government has the Quarantine Act in place. So you have to, for any traveler flying up, you have to mandatory quarantine for 14 days. And that means like literally not leaving the threshold of your house. Like you cannot go outside for anything. So I'm here figuring out how to use Instacart and figuring out how to use Skip the Dishes and every other delivery service I've never really needed to use before.
All right, so this is crazy. So you do Supernatural for 14 and 3/4 or more years. This is the 15th season, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden hey, 2 episodes left. We're ready. We got momentum. We're all tired, but we're emotional. Let's finish these 2. Boom. Go back to Texas, Jensen. And you're there for 5 months.
Yes.
Is it hard to be, look, you've been doing this so long. Do you even get nervous in terms of like, hey, it's been 5 months. I got to come back and shoot the 2 most important episodes of the series, and I have a lot riding on it, or you don't take it like that?
I mean, I've got a lot of mixed emotions about it, and rightfully so. Moving into the final 2 episodes, it was we only did 20 episodes a season. I like to say episode 19 was kind of the season finale, and then episode 20 was the series finale. And but as you know, doing a 20 episode or a 22 episode or a 23 episode season like we've been doing for so many years, you get to those last couple of episodes and you're tuckered. I mean, you are spent. It's a marathon. And so usually what happens is you work your ass off for 9 months. And then the last couple episodes are the biggest, most emotional, most, action-packed crescendo of the entire season. So it's like running a marathon, and then they expect you to sprint the last few miles. And so it's always pretty exhausting. And I do remember having the thought of like, I wish we could like regroup and like have a little break and get some, get refreshed before going to these. And I did not anticipate a 4.5 month refreshment. I'm good. I'm refreshed. I'm ready to go.
Go get yourself a facial, relax for a couple months, do some stretching.
So I was, in the beginning, I kind of looked at it at that. I was like, let's try to find the positive, the silver lining here. And it's that we took a pause before the last 2 episodes, and hopefully we can get this pandemic under control and we can get back to work, and we'll all be fresh and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We can knock out season 15 and the whole series. It lasted a lot longer than anticipated. Now it's like going to be so different,
Yeah.
They had to rewrite a bit of the last 2 episodes because of the quarantine and because of the pandemic and all that stuff. There's some things that we can't do that we were going to do.
Like you and Jared can't make out.
Well, no.
That will stay.
We're hanging our hat on that. Yeah, that's happening. That's regardless. Corona or no Corona, we're making out.
We're making out. But there are some things that you can't do. There's like some things that are do you have to distance when you're on set?
So, well, yeah, I mean, just the protocol now, as I understand it, is, and this is another reason why it took so long to get us back up here and working. All the unions had to sign off on it. You had to get the DGA, and you had to get the SAG, and you had to get, the transpo, and you had to get grips and electrics, and like everybody had to basically come together, come to the table, and sign off on these safety protocols. And I believe the way it's going to look is that all of these different crew are going to have, there's going to be like little pods. So you're going to have like grips and electrics in one. You're going to have, camera and sound in another. You're going to have actors, hair, makeup, wardrobe in another, and they're not allowed to commingle. Yeah, they have to stay separate, which, as you know, is going to be a very difficult thing because I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting there on set rehearsing and I've got a grip or an electric, over my head tweaking a light, which is
or someone's fixing your mic, or someone's fixing your
absolutely. I mean, people are all like, it's a very tightly interacting group of technicians, and so that's going to add God knows how much time to production. They're also adding, I think, an additional 60 minutes to lunch. So it's hour and a half now, 90-minute lunches, just so they can social distance in the line.
Well, what about the days? Doesn't that make the days longer?
Well, that makes the days longer, but here's what they did. Maybe they figured out that working past 11 hours, your immune system starts to deplete. So now they want 10-hour camera days.
Hang on. That's good.
Hang on. Silver lining for everybody who doesn't like to work 14 hours.
Who does?
But nobody does.
Nobody does.
I love they've just figured out that, maybe there's a compromise in the immune system after 10 hours of being on your feet and locked in a soundstage with atmospheric smoke.
Will that stick? Do you think that will stick even after post all this stuff, or we'll come back to like, hey, we're back to 14 days here?
I think the 14-day, huge will rear its ugly head eventually.
When you get to set, do they have a protein shake for you? Maybe some egg yolks like Rocky had. What is it?
Yeah. So Jared usually always has this breakfast burrito that's the size of a football. And
I believe it.
It's a massive gut bomb. and what's funny, and he'll argue this with me till we're blue in the face, but he's like, I don't eat breakfast. And I'm like, you have a massive breakfast burrito, the size of your leg. Every morning, he's like, yeah, but I don't get up and eat. I eat that, when I get to work.
Because breakfast is right when you wake up.
I guess. And I'm like, technically, breakfast is the first time you're eating since you woke up. You're breaking your fast.
But what about you? What do you get?
So I usually will stop at my coffee shop along the way to work, and I'll pick up like a coffee and a little breakfast sandwich, like a little, egg and cheese sandwich. And I'll eat that. And so when I get to work, I'm not tempted to go over to catering and order a giant football-sized burrito.
Yeah, good call. Yeah.
So I usually don't partake in breakfast at the studio in the morning. Sometimes they'll make me like a little breakfast scramble or something like that if I'm still hungry. But most part, I'll wait and I'll get a good lunch.
Right.
They'll make me like a platter with like, fruits and vegetables and some deli slices and some cheese and some hummus or whatever. They mix it up for me.
What's a no-no though? What do you know that if you eat it, you're going to be tired? It's going to put you in a crash. What do you stay away from throughout the day so you have the energy? What do you eat and what do you don't eat? Not eat.
I try to stay away from like the donuts, the heavy sugary stuff because that'll feel good for, 5 minutes, and then you're going to be like, I'm going to be in my trailer sleeping for the next hour.
Right. What about steak? Steak's not good during the day, isn't it? Hard to digest.
Not really. I mean, if they like during the, at lunch, if they're making steaks and stuff, I'll have them cut me a few bites, but I'm not eating big meals throughout. I'm eating kind of like, low portions consistently throughout the day.
Every hour or so. Carrots, fruits, little deli snack.
Yeah, little granola, just kind of just keeping myself sustained so that I'm not overeating or I'm not, crashing.
Have you ever had any kind of issue where you're like somebody ever came up to you? Because, women have had this for a very long time. And I'm sure guys have had it too, but where the producer comes up and goes, hey, Jen, so we noticed you've either lost a little weight or you've gained too much weight. Have you ever had that?
I haven't. I've had, my makeup artist or wardrobe gal mention something like, you're looking a little skinny or whatever. I'll be like, yeah, just trying to lose a little around the middle. But it's never been to a point where they're like, they've never had to call me.
We're closing down. Go back to Texas for another 5 months, Jensen.
Yeah, if anything, I think Jared's probably fluctuated a little bit more than I have throughout the years. He's, depending on what supplements he's taking,
right,
or what he's training for.
Do you think there was in the beginning when you first started? Because I'm sure you went through. I mean, when you're with each other for 15 years, you're not only your family. I mean, you really become family and friends. But like with that, I mean, I know, like I've lost my shit on Welling before on Smallville. I've lost my shit with people because I hang out with them more than I have my own family. So was there ever a time where you're like those moments where I like this guy, I don't like this guy, I really don't want to see this guy for the next few weeks, and I like this guy again. All right, he's better now. Do you guys go in an up and down thing, or is it just kind of like, I love him and he doesn't annoy the shit out of me, or you annoy the shit out of him?
I would say, I mean, certainly over 15 years, there is the I don't need to see him right now.
Sure.
I'm not knocking on his door the first thing in the morning. I know I'm going to see him in 10 minutes anyway.
Right. I'm sure he feels the same way.
I just sleep. I missed you. But I will say for the massive majority of our time, we are buddies hanging out. And I think it's been one of the greatest successes of the show is how well and how consistently we've gotten along both on and off set.
And if someone's going to snap, who's going to be?
Oh, Jared.
Do you guys enjoy watching this? Like, do you look at each other like, well, there he goes?
I have literally fire started and lit his fuse so many times just to sit back and go.
What is it you do? Is it things like, because Welling would do that to me, and he would also be
I know Welling would do that.
Fucking asshole. He would sometimes he'd be in a pissy mood, and for some reason, if I came in and I was a pissy mood, it'd make him happy. He would suddenly get out of the bad mood. He'd love seeing me lose it. What are we doing? Why are we filming? They told me to come to set. I had to rush to set. I'm late. And then, I'll turn around. He's got his hand up to his face. He's like, fucking like, but.
I would say generally Jared and I's frustrations are very much in line. So if something is not working or something just seems off or it's frustrating, right. I will either quickly bring it to his attention or he'll quickly bring it to mine. And then depending on the severity of it, I also know where this could go. Either he's going to get wound up and heads are going to roll, or I'm going to diffuse the situation and cooler heads will prevail and we'll move past it. Very rarely do I get tuned up and do I get wound up and have to tune somebody up.
What's an incident where Jared would have probably been like, wow, Jensen's going off. Like Jensen he's even killed. He never loses it. What's the one moment I could see it? You remember it?
No, well, I'm trying to think. There's been a few over the years where he surprisingly just got to sit back and watch me go off. Although, he is the type and he's the good friend that he is. He's right there behind me to throw in the insults as well. So there have been a few. We've had some guard changes in certain positions over the years, and those people in their authoritative position would maybe treat people that we have a very close relationship with that are underneath their position, and we would start hearing that they were getting treated less than they should. And so we would then have to, put on our producer hats that we actually don't own, and and go set some people straight on the kind of behavior that is expected on this set. And
what's that noise? What's that noise?
Let me get rid of it.
Yeah, it's fucking killing me. Usually I don't hear anything, so I don't even know how I hear it.
That's my dishwasher telling me that the dishes are dry.
Okay, like, well. You can tell you once.
Yeah, tell me once. I don't need to know.
It would have been perfect timing. You're like, that's enough, dishwasher. So someone is not getting treated as fairly because someone of a higher importance, whatever the hell, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? They're just getting that. So you guys step in and sort of. And you probably hate that. You're like, shit, now we have to, because it takes a lot of energy and you have to deal with something. You don't want to deal with it. Now you got to deal with it.
Yeah, well, I think, Jared and I have worked very hard. We know that tone on set is a very important thing. And, you've been around, you've been on enough sets to know that toxic sets are just exhausting to be on. It's not fun. The work's not fun. Everybody's walking on eggshells, and the egos are flying off the hand. It's like I don't want to be a part of. I don't want to work in that place.
Toxic, yeah, you don't want that.
So we know that we have a heavy hand in setting the tone on this set, and he and I try to really do justice to that. And everybody should be treated fairly. Best idea wins, no matter if it comes from the producer, director, or the PA who's sweeping up the broken glass. I've had my on-set carpenter lean into my ear and be like, it'd be funny, and I'm like, I'm doing that. So there's a very communal kind of feeling that we have on our set. And if somebody is having a bad day, or if somebody tries to wreck that tone and be a shithead, then we're usually the ones that call them out and handle the situation.
Right. Do you think after 5 months off, in your head, you're sort of like 3 months in, you're like, Daniil, your wife, you know this.
Yeah,
do you ever,
I'm aware. I know her.
do you ever go, I could do another season? I mean,
yeah.
All these months off, I'm going to call the producers and let's go. Let's get another one going.
That's the longest break that I've had in 14 years from the show.
That's what I'm saying.
By the way, longer than the writer's strike in season 3.
Wow.
Which was what, 2008?
I remember that. Yeah. Yep. Oh, it was 2008.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, it's also the longest I've ever gone without traveling anywhere. It's the longest I've ever spent. It's the longest I've ever spent consecutively with
your family.
With my family consecutively.
Whoa. So
yeah, I mean, I'm certainly ready to go and refreshed and ready to get back to work. But the ship has already sailed on this being the last season. Jared's already got another show lined up. I've got a few stokers in the fire, and so we're going to knock this out, try to do it justice. I've always thought that there is a possibility of 5 years down the road getting the call and saying, hey, let's do a little short order action for a streaming network and bring them back for 6 episodes.
That's going to happen. The show's too famous not to happen.
Right.
I mean, it'd be silly. I mean, it's not like you guys are going to age that much in 5 years. I mean, it's been 10 years since I did Smallville, but right. I'm a little older, but Lex Luthor could be old.
You can still do it.
I can still do it. I'm older. Like I'll shave, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, you guys could do that. So it's always there. It's timeless. It's something that you guys could do 25 years from now. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, can you believe we're still doing this shit? Yeah, we are.
Yeah. And I do feel like this isn't like the long goodbye right now. I feel like this is let's hang this in the closet for now, and we'll dust her off, down the road.
Crying.
Oh yeah.
You've seen him emotional.
Oh yeah.
Has he seen you emotional?
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know. I just thought that. You know how my mind goes. I'm like, I wonder if they've ever seen each other cry. Like, I've never seen Welling cry. I mean, I've seen Welling a little emotional, but this was post Smallville, and it was kind of
I didn't think Welling was emotional. I thought he was. I thought he was literally built in a lab of old actor parts.
Well, he'd like to hear that, and he'd probably laugh at that. He would laugh. I've seen him like a little emotional when it came to, there was some personal stuff years ago, but I'm not going to talk about that. But there was like a moment, I saw him like a little vulnerable and like, I mean, he's like, maybe he's like, tough on the outside. What a Tommy boy. To say with the M&Ms, what do you say? It's like, they're really hard on the outside, but really, whatever, it's like, shut up, Richard. But it's funny because, and Bruce Campbell was talking about.
I love that you were talking to Bruce Campbell. By the way, fun fact for you.
Yeah.
They went to him, and I think only him, to come back to play our father, because in the pilot episode, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who we all know and love, played our dad.
Right.
But he was playing our dad when my character was 6 years old. right? Because Jeff's only like 10, 11 years older than I am. So he was playing the dad to young Dean and Sam. So when at the end of the pilot, we go looking for dad because he's gone missing, but we haven't seen what present day dad looks like. So they actually went out to Bruce Campbell to play present day dad.
Wow.
And for whatever reason they couldn't, and I think that was the only person that they wanted.
Could you imagine going around a corner, dad, and he turns around and goes, looks at him and goes, groovy.
Groovy.
He was the best.
Hey kid, you bring my boomstick. So he was, but ultimately they couldn't make it happen, whether it was schedule or whatever. And so they kind of threw their hands in the air. They're like, well, maybe we can just gray Jeff up and have him come back and play an older version of himself. And so ultimately that's what they did. And thank goodness, because there was, you had the continuity, and plus Jeff just, he's so good and knocked it out of the park. Old Bruce almost made it to the set of Supernatural.
That would have been nice. Let me ask you something. With 5 months with your wife and kids, longer than you ever had with them, really, seriously?
Not uninterrupted, not consecutively, and that isolated.
Is that hard? Were you like all of a sudden, because that's the first time you've dealt with it, or was it? I mean, you could say, of course not. I love Denise. I love my kids. It's not hard. It's easy.
No, I think. I don't know anybody, and if they said that, I wouldn't believe them. That they said, this was a walk in the park. This was such a lovely experience. It was. I would say it was. There were some beautiful memories made, but it was tough. It was a massive adjustment, both emotionally, physically, and mentally, and all of the above. And it was. But luckily, she and I have, we've got a solid partnership and friendship and relationship that we just kind of, got into a groove. I got home and immediately the kids were not going to school, so now we were teaching them, taking turns teaching them. And,
ooh, that's what terrifies me.
Yeah, so I would say there were some challenging aspects to it, but looking back on it, it will be looked back on fondly for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you teach the kids school, how old do you have? Twins?
So I've got my twins are 3.5, and then my oldest is just turned 7. So she'll be going into second grade, or would be going into second grade. So we're finishing up first grade. So stuff that that we can handle. Reading and writing and math and that kind of stuff, like your basics.
All those things scare me. All of them.
Well, and here's where I feel, I feel bad for the parents that have 9th graders or, 8th, 9th, 10th. Like, I don't remember that, like algebra and trig and like all that stuff. Like I haven't done that stuff since then.
Albums and things like that. But this is like,
I've never written and constructed one from the tip to stern.
Right. This is the first one, because you've been on other albums, like I have, like songs and things like that, and you're like, and you sound great. And I'm like, he should do an album. So you did an album, and how hard was it?
I mean, it was not that hard at all. It was, and by that I mean, yeah, it took time. It took, you had to commit and stuff, but it was really fun.
You have a natural voice, though. Like I'm saying you can really sing. When I heard you singing in front of many people at live shows and things, I was like, I don't know if I could do that. It always scared me. I mean, Jensen just has that. I don't know. You've always had a great voice. And so I knew it would be easier for you. To me, to get comfortable with something I've never had a lesson, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But what's your favorite song on the album?
Oh, gosh. Hang on. I think I've got it right here.
Well, I got it right here. I'm going to play a little Sounds of Sunday if you don't. Someday.
Look at that. Oh.
Dude, Radio Company. Where'd you come up with that? Was it just a kind of a...
It was... There's one of my favorite coffee shops in Austin, Texas, is called Radio Coffee, and so I'm sure that like subliminally influenced it, but also Steve Carlson, who I made the album with, he and I were talking like, what kind of music we want to do, what kind of, because our influences are across the board. He likes to say it's from Motown to Metallica, and And so we're like, well, we just want stuff that is good music to keep you company. You know, like when you flip on the radio, it's just good company music.
Ooh, radio company.
Funny enough, one of my favorite songs is actually not even one I sing. Off My Mind is just, from a production standpoint, I think just a really cool tune. That's one of Steve's songs. But also the one I like to sing the most, I think, would probably be Let Me Be. Although Drowning's pretty cool. Yeah.
See, I couldn't do this. The voice range here for you. Come on. I mean, good Lord, son. I mean, how'd you not blow your vocal cords out?
It was funny. We actually recorded vocals and the band, all of it, at one time.
That's the way to do it, because it's the energy. When I have to sing solo after the band's recorded and they're all staring at me, that's hard.
I found that the most difficult from a process standpoint. That was the most difficult, was singing in a vocal booth with headphones on and a microphone staring at you, and that's it.
I would get so frustrated.
Like when I go on we do these conventions, these supernatural conventions, I'll go out and I'll play with, the band Loud and Swain is Rob Benedict's band, and they come out and they do a whole concert Sunday night or Saturday night, and they'll have some of the actors that want to come up and do. It's kind of like, the Last Waltz, they'll come up and they'll sing a tune or whatever. And
right.
It allowed me to come up and sing a few times with them. And it's a totally different, there's so much energy.
Yep.
Your voice is like, the adrenaline is pumping, and it's like your voice is doing things that it probably wouldn't normally do. And that experience, I'm like, oh, cool. I'll just take that right into a recording studio. Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple like that, that are just kind of like, it's just easy.
Yeah, you're not trying too hard.
It's really easy. And
come on.
That got on the show, actually. They used that on Supernatural.
Come on, dude. You sound like you're like from the freaking Van Zant from like Leonard Skinner and shit. They always say actors can't. There's some actors that can fucking play music. There's a lot of actors that all of a sudden they just do stuff and you're just like, I don't know what the fuck. But hey, they loved it.
Well, I also think there's a stigma too that actors shouldn't cross over to singing.
Yeah, fuck why?
And I don't know why that is, because you look at singers and they cross over to acting all the time.
Yeah.
Or try to, I mean, Timberlake's done a great job. There's people that have had very lucrative careers in the music industry. You look at what Rihanna did, that Ocean's 8 with Sandy Bullock and all that. I mean, nobody bats an eye at that.
Well, how about guys and actors in films, the crossover? Now you could act in movies, you could act in TV, you could do commercials, you could be the guy who won the Oscar for the drum thing. J.K. Simmons is doing those commercials. Doing
Farmers Insurance.
He wins an Oscar. No one gives a shit. Just be good at what you do or enjoy what you're doing. No one cares anymore. I
do feel like that's the last kind of stigma that's that people are a little hung up on is actors being able to do, because they think it's like a vanity thing. It's like, oh, they just did, it's like back in the day it was, every actor had to be able to sing and dance.
That's right.
I don't plan on, starting dance lessons anytime soon, but
I don't know. I bet you could dance.
It's funny is
if you want
this year, no joke. You look this up after we get off, but I get a call from our showrunner, Andrew Dabb, and he's like, "Hey, Agnes, can you dance?" And they've thrown any of the weird shit that they come up with in the writer's room usually falls in my lap. And they usually like to make Dean do it. So I'm like, well, what kind of dance? And they're like, like Fred Astaire. I'm like, no, Andrew, I've never had a lesson. I mean,
like singing in the rain shit.
I'm like, I probably keep beat, and he's like, well, would you mind taking a couple of tap dance lessons and see if we can't, he's like, I've got this whole dream sequence and I want you to go have a dream sequence where you're, like a Singing in the Rain type thing. And I'm like, sure. Why not? Let's try it. So I did like 3 hours of lessons, of tap dancing lessons, and ended up doing like this whole, just like maybe a minute and a half, minute 45-second routine, tap dance routine on the show.
And how exciting. Are you so glad you did it?
It was really, my thing is I get really like competitive with myself. So like I wasn't getting it at first. And I think the poor camera guys and stuff, because it was a huge, camera suite that was on a crane and,
right.
A big jib arm. And so it was a big, and we did the whole thing. It wasn't like we cut it up into segments. We kind of we tried to do the entire thing in like one swooping shot. And I think I must have done it like 18 different takes. I was like, no, I missed that one step. Let's do it again.
I think camera guys are probably, they're used to us going, no, one more. No, come on, let's go again. They might get annoyed, but you got to just whatever. If you have any say.
I'm not usually like that. Like I'm I pride myself on knocking it out in one take for most things. But this, I was like, I just, it was out of my comfort zone, and I wasn't gonna settle, and so I kept dancing. I mean, I must have burned 10,000 calories that afternoon.
And that's when your makeup artist said, "You're looking a little skinny, Jensen."
Yeah.
I just tap danced.
Yeah, a tap dancing woman.
Good Lord. They're hard on the outside, but
damn it, Richard.
I miss him. God, I miss him all the time. There's nobody funnier than Chris Farley. I talk about it all the time. I jump into it inadvertently. What's your favorite Farley quote?
Oh.
Would you call the U.S. Embassy? I don't speak Japanese. I'm saying it live. Good Lord. I don't know.
The one line I probably use the most, and this is something that gets thrown back at me quite often from my wife as well. We use it on each other. Is anytime she or I is going like, "Oh wow, look at this desk. This is fantastic. I mean, you could put so much stuff in here." Yeah, anything you want to keep cold, Tommy. Which I guess is a Brian Dennehy.
Well, no, but it's a Tommy Boy scene.
It's a Tommy Boy scene. It's like, yeah. Anything you want to keep cold, Tommy.
Can I take my blindfold off? I never told you to wear one. I think my favorite one is when he's talking to the girl from Married with Children. I forgot the actress's name.
Christina Applegate.
Christina Applegate. Gosh, I should know that from the PM Dawn song. Remember? Christina Applegate, you got it going on. Why do I remember PM Dawn, but I don't remember Christina Applegate? I don't know. So there's a scene where he's...
they sing, Set Adrift on Memory.
Yeah, that's it. Set Adrift on Memory. Yeah, Christina Applegate, you got it going on. He's with David Spade and Christina Applegate. He says, what do you want to do with your life? To Christina Applegate, she goes, I want to live in a van down by the river. And he goes, you can see he's getting pissed off. He's like, well, you'll have a lot of time living in a van down by the river when you're living in a van down by the river.
The best is watching Spade try to hold it together through that whole take. He's
just dying. Do a little doobie rolling.
I can't see real well, Dad. Is that Bill Shakespeare over there?
That's right. That's the best line. Is that Bill Shakespeare over there? I can't tell. Dad, I wish you'd just shut your yapper.